You want to talk to ask the question and then shut up, okay? Sometimes we talk and then we tell the answer, but you have no success there. Questions I use always deal with the W's, the who, what, when, where, and why. And fact-finding and getting to know a client, I always ask some of the who's. Who is this? What? When? Why did you do that? Once you get to know the client, it's amazing. Ask the question and keep quiet and let the client talk, and then ask another question, keep quiet, let the client talk. And you get to know the client pretty well. So what happens is we want to talk and not ask the question. Let's do the reverse and you get to know your client really well. One of my favorite questions is why? And that's a 3-letter word with a question mark after that. Because once you understand the why, everything else comes into play. Why this? Why that? And if you understand the why, then you get to know the client and you get to know what makes them tick. You want to get to know the client. So it's adding the right leading questions and then don't say a word after you ask the question. And sometimes it's pretty difficult. So one of the things, if I'm talking with a client and I ask a question, I'm holding a pen in my hand, I look straight down at the paper with my pen and I ask a question and I don't say a word and I just stare at the tip of my pen on my paper. And the silence is uncomfortable. But what you do is the first person talk loses, so you don't want to talk first, okay? But you want that client to know that you're demanding that answer. And I've set 2 minutes sometimes, just staring straight at the pen tip on my paper. But that's where you get the answer. And then also rephrasing some questions. So if a client says something, repeat it and say, besides that, is there anything else? Because you got to get to a core issue. And sometimes the client gives you a fluff answer up front, and then they give you a second fluff answer. But once you kind of repeat it and rephrase it, you'll finally start getting some core responses. And that's where you now loosen up the relationship with the client. And it's pretty interesting. The people don't want to know how much you know, they want to know how much you care. So you got to get to the caring for the client. And sometimes you actually have to tell personal stories to get to that method. So you got to open up yourself to get the client to open up more of themselves.